Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today here at Orchestra Careers for our third annual virtual summer job fair. I'm Sonia Thomes, and I started Orchestra Careers about, 5 years ago now, and I'm currently the executive director at the Wheeling Symphony Orchestra here in West Virginia. But I'm really excited to introduce you to our panel today. We've got five summer festivals represented who are going to share about their festival, what jobs are available, and how you can get involved, and how when applications will be open, and all the deadlines you need to know. So plenty of time for getting connected with these festivals after you watch this video. And so let's kick it off because we've got a lot of content to get through. I'm going to start off with Aspen Music Festival. And today we have Beth and Kyle joining us from Aspen. And so Beth and Kyle, would you introduce yourselves?
Yes, hi, I'm Beth Noble. I'm the Director of Operations at Aspen Music Festival.
And I'm Kyle Schick. I'm Director of Production.
Excellent. Well, tell us about Aspen Music Festival. If someone's never heard of it before or they're curious to know more, what's it like to be in Aspen in the summer?
Yeah, sure. So each summer we gather 500 students, 120 artist faculty, 75 guest artists, and 110 seasonal employees in Aspen. And we present close to 400 events over the course of 8 weeks. So we would love to see your applications come in to help us out this summer. Students come here to study and perform alongside our artist faculty, and I think that's something that really makes us unique. And we have four main orchestras and ensembles: the Aspen Chamber Symphony, the Aspen Festival Orchestra, the Aspen Conducting Academy Orchestra, and the Aspen Contemporary Ensemble. We have two main performance venues. It's our 2,000-seat Klein Music Tent and our 500-seat Harris Concert Hall. We also have an opera program, our Aspen Opera Theater and Vocal Arts. And we are performing two main stage operas this year: Hansel and Gretel and Le Nozze di Figaro. And in addition to those operas, we have weekly opera scenes and art song performances that we perform in the Wheeler Opera House, which is an opera house in downtown Aspen. We also take great pride in our community involvement. So we have performances in various churches and venues in the town of Aspen and in neighboring towns. And something that we're really excited about this year is that it's our 75th anniversary. So everything is bigger and better and bolder than it's been before. We're also hosting a collection of performances called Sounds of Pride, which will feature and celebrate our LGBTQ plus artists and composers that have had such great influence on the Aspen Music Festival and School. And we also host each year a mariachi celebration, and in which local students and dancers perform with Mariachi Sol de Mi Tierra on the Music Klein, the tent stage, on the Klein Music Tent stage. Yeah, so that's kind of the summary of, we have a lot going on this summer, so we'd love to work with any student here, and just a little bit about, dates and how the positions that we're hiring for. Our festival is running from June 27th through August 18th, and contract dates vary based on positions. But I personally hire the opera program administrative team, the operations assistants, the front of house management team, and house managers and lead ushers, as well as the front desk receptionist. But we hire across every aspect of the festival. So we hire in development and marketing, student services, as well as production, which I'll give Kyle a moment to speak here too. And he's going to tell us a bit about the production side of things.
Yeah, like Beth mentioned, there's hundreds of events that happen over a very short period of time, about 8 weeks. And to do that, it kind of takes a small army of people and teams that we assemble to make that happen. And Beth hires a lot of those people that are behind the scenes, and then I hire a lot of the others that are behind the scenes. So my role is mostly about production and sort of the backstage operations that make the shows happen and run smoothly. Hopefully, that's the goal. So in my department, I've got 6 main teams. There's a whole team of percussion crew that just move percussion from place to place and get it where it needs to go for every ensemble that performs. I've got a crew that works on our Bucksbaum campus and services all the rehearsal venues. I've got a crew that of piano technicians, and they service the about 100 pianos that we rent from Steinway over the summer. So they just maintain those pianos. And then I've got our backstage crew at our 2 main venues, like Beth said, our Michael Klein Music Tent and the Harris Concert Hall. And they do things like lighting and rigging and service all of the onstage operations that happen there. I've got an audio and media team, and they handle all of our live streaming and audio needs, recording. Just about every performance that we do is recorded or live streamed in some kind of a way, and so that takes a whole team to do that. So it's a big team. There's about 65 or so people that I hire to fill that out and make all that happen. And those people range from entry level to people that are coming in with a trade skill of some sort, like audio engineering or lighting or electrics or something like that. But it kind of spans the range. There are people like stage managers or electricians, props artisans for the opera, costume and wardrobe staff, wig and makeup artists, all kinds of people. So the full list of that is on our website, aspenmusicfestival.com/about/employment. So you can find that pretty easily, the positions that are currently open. And I was just going to say, like, why come to Aspen and work at Aspen? And I thought of 3 main reasons as I was thinking about it this morning before this talk. But one, I think, is our artists. We bring some of the finest musicians, performers in the world, really to our stages, and getting to work with artists like that is really incredible, and a lot of the reason why I get up and go to work every day for that. And then 2, professional networking. This is such a big festival, and so many people come to it, and so many arts professionals and admins come and work for the summer. And the people that you meet here often work a summer or maybe 2 summers, and then they go work in the field somewhere else. And often we'll find that alumni from the summer staff are working together in some orchestra somewhere, or an opera company, or performing arts center. These are people that you're going to know the whole rest of your career in life, hopefully. And we do a lot of work making sure that we pick just the best people to come here too. So they're amazing people that come and work. And then the third part is just being in the mountains for the summer. I think the beauty of being in the Roaring Fork Valley and the mountains that are surrounding us, and the rivers and the sort of that natural beauty. It's really fun being out here for the summer. The weather's lovely. So yeah, that's sort of why I do it, and why I think you should too.
That's great. So if anyone had any questions as they're looking through kind of those job descriptions that are on your website, would you be willing for them to reach out to you or someone on your team just to get a little clarity on anything they might need?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Either
so
one of us.
you can email me or Beth, and if you email the wrong person, then we'll just route you to whoever the right person is. But me, I'm Schick@aspenmusic.org. Schick is spelled just like the razor, SCHICK. And then Beth is yeah, well, you can say what your email address is.
Yeah.
Or
And
no.
I'm just b@aspenmusic.org. Just the letter B, not like BE Noble, but Yeah.
which is also a good thing.
Yeah, right. I know.
That's great. Okay, wonderful. And we'll put links and email addresses in the description box of this video. So thanks so much. Why don't we keep going, and then we'll see if there's any questions. So next we've got Tim from Grand Tetons. Hi Tim, how are you today?
Doing very well, Sonia. Yeah, I live in Victor, which is in Idaho, just over the border from Jackson Hole, which is where the Grand Teton Music Festival is based and has been based since the early 60s. It's kind of hard to believe. Um, we I mean, the heart and soul of what we do is an 8-week summer festival featuring um, what I would characterize as the best pickup orchestra in the country. It's an all-star team made up of over 200 symphonic musicians from orchestras like the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra, the Los Angeles Philharmonic, the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. So it's you never hear this combination of people together in any other setting. And for me, and I think for those of us who have um, committed to like moving here and working here full time, it's just the word we use a lot is magic. Sir Donald Runnicles would say alchemy, but he can do that because he's a knight. Magic is what we talk about. Um, Really, the heart and soul of it is our festival orchestra programming. So there are 8 distinct programs that this orchestra performs throughout the summer. The personnel rotate. Most folks stay with us for 2 weeks. Most of the professional musicians who play with us are here playing for 2 weeks out of the 8. Some people stay the whole summer if they can. Some people stay for half, but for most, it's 2 weeks. 7 of those programs are symphonic, and for the past few years, we've done one semi-staged opera presentation. It was all Puccini in 22 and 23. We did La Boheme and then Madame Butterfly. And this year, we're doing something a little lighter with the Magic Flute, which should be just terrific. Those have been, I would say, wildly popular here and a really good fit given that Sir Donald Runnicles, our music director, spends most of his year, not all of it, but most of it in Berlin, conducting the Deutsche Oper. So, job opportunities. We are a lean staff. I talk about the music festival team as we're like a pirate ship, right? You can accomplish great things, but it's like everybody's got to be able to do a little bit of everything. So I would also call us scrappy, which makes the work really fun. We add our full-time staff is just under 10. Okay, a handful of us are actually based in the area. I think right now it's only 6, but we're adding some people who are going to be moving here full-time soon. We have a few full-time remote folks as well who work for us. And then we add 10 to 15 seasonal staff every summer. Right now, the positions we have open for the summer in 2024 are in our box office, so like patron services. We are still looking for a front of house manager. So someone who essentially is like just the point person for every single performance at Walk Festival Hall, our principal venue, Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. And we're also looking for our development assistant. I mean, the primary function of that development assistant is to be like the manager of the concessions experience. I mean, both patron services, the box office patron services people and the development assistant working at concessions, they're just kind of key to creating positive donor experiences and donor and patron experiences and supporting ticket sales and fundraising. So those are the 3. We have a couple of openings on the patron services side and then singles for front of house manager and our development assistant. What kind of candidates are successful? I would say the people who seem to thrive, and this is in my limited experience, having done this for 2 summers, the music festival. 1, love being in the outdoors and in the mountains, right? If you don't want to get out and hike or be on the river or do any of those kinds of things, it would be a tough place to spend the summer. But if you love doing that stuff, it's heaven. And then I would say the other thing that separates the really great seasonal team members from the fine seasonal team members is just, it's hard, man. You gotta want to be there, because some people don't want to be there. And the people who are committed to just learning and doing their level best all the time, they really thrive. And I will say, like, the festival has a track record of hiring former seasonal staffers in full-time positions. So we just hired a 2022 seasonal staffer and a 23 seasonal staffer into 2 full-time roles here at the music festival. And one of those folks is replacing someone else who was previously a seasonal staffer. So in addition to like just the opportunity to network and hear some incredible music and be in the Tetons, I mean, there's a real line, if you do great work, to maybe a potential job opportunity here. In terms of, like, you know, the tenure of our seasonal staff, our season this year is running June 27 to August 16th, I believe. And we generally bring out most of our seasonals a week before. So all of our seasonal folks are going to work June 17th to Monday, August 17th. And we generally looking for folks who are 21 and over, because everybody has to be able to serve alcohol at concessions. You need to have your own transportation. And other than that, I mean, we're pretty flexible. I mean, for me, really the heart and interest are more important, like, because that stuff's not as trainable. Everything else is very coachable, but you kind of want to be here. You know what I mean? So, and if folks want to set themselves apart, read the job description, send a cover letter and your resume. You'd be amazed how many people skip one of those things. And if, as somebody who's hiring a seasonal staffer, when I see that, I'm like, what else are they going to skip? What else are they going to miss? Right? Are they paying? Are they really going to be paying attention? So the best for folks who are interested, of course, anyone can always email me. It's just tim@gtmf.org. But you can read all the job descriptions at gtmf.org/jobs, or call our office line. And we hope to be done hiring by the middle of March. So sooner is better than later, for sure.
Great. Thanks so much, Tim. That was a lot of good information. And I think we're going to go transition to Grant Park Music Festival, which is also our kind of other like professional musician festival. And so it's great to have kind of that mix between, you know, and Aspen kind of has a mix of both. As I'm thinking through it now, we've got student performers and obviously the artists that you bring in. And so it's a really great entry point. You know, work around. I like to say the way I learned professional was working at the Pittsburgh Symphony, where the world-class musicians had really high expectations of themselves and the people around them. And so I learned so quickly because I had to. That's a really great environment to be around professional musicians as well, because it's the real deal, and it really gave me excellent experience myself. Thanks, Tim. So Chris, we're going to move on to you. Thanks so much for being here from Grant Park Music Festival.
Thank you, Sonia. Always great to see you. And for everyone who is watching this, hello from Chicago. It is cold here, but not too many more months until we're going to be in the beautiful summer that Chicago always provides us. So my name's Chris Collins. I am the general manager of the Grant Park Music Festival. Just a little bit of information about our festival. Similar to I think it was Aspen talking about their 75th anniversary. This coming year is actually going to be our 90th anniversary. Also, the 25th anniversary of our artistic director, Carlos Kalmar, which is also his final season as our artistic director. And it's also the 20th anniversary of the opening of Millennium Park, where we perform. So there are a lot of anniversaries to celebrate in the 24 season. Um, we are a 10-week classical music festival that runs from mid-June to mid-August. Generally, we're performing 3 concerts a week. We have our Wednesday night concerts, that's one program, and then a Friday, Saturday pair of concerts, that is another program. So we're performing 2 separate programs a week. We are producing 270 plus events over the course of the 10 weeks of the festival. This season, total of 34 performances with our orchestra and chorus, over 23 productions. And then we have a whole separate set of chamber music performances that take place as well in parks throughout the city. Where are we located? That's one of the things that I think makes us so unique, is the fact that we are producing these orchestra and chorus concerts right in the middle of downtown Chicago, right nestled up against Lake Michigan, in this beautiful Frank Gehry pavilion that we perform in. Millennium Park is our home. It's there where the famous bean is located. So that's pretty cool to get to come into work and see that every day. Our pavilion can accommodate about 12,000 people, and we generally see between 7,000 and 8,000 people at each of our concerts each night. We were founded during the Great Depression to lift the spirit of weary Chicagoans, and this is something that is deeply embedded in our DNA. Since our founding, we have always been free and open to the public. So we have more than 250,000 people who come to our performances each year, totally free of charge, given the fact that there is no ticket price, that we are in the middle of downtown in an open air space. We have both the seats that you see on the picture on the screen, and then there's a great lawn that seats 7,000 people behind the seats. So it really is kind of like a choose your own concert going adventure, which I really, really love. The people sitting really close to the seats are the ones who, are more your traditional concert goers. And then you'll have people throwing frisbees at the back of the lawn and, bringing their picnics. And so it's a really magical place. Our musicians, so we have 83 musicians who comprise our orchestra. Roughly about half of them are local to the Chicago area. They play in like the Lyric Opera Orchestra during our off season, and then join us over the course of the summer. And the other half are coming from orchestras across the country. So, we have musicians from Seattle Symphony, Utah Symphony, Pittsburgh Symphony, and everywhere in between really. And then our chorus comprises about 150 singers. And a lot of people will say this biasly, but I'm not biased when I say we truly do have one of the greatest symphonic choruses in the country. And they get to do a lot of really fun repertoire here, which is great. I mentioned Carlos Kalmar as our artistic director, and we're led by Christopher Bell, who is our chorus director. So what kind of jobs do we have open each year? So our staff, our full-time staff here at the festival is about 15. We're also kind of lean during the year, and we do expand greatly in terms of like a huge front of house team, production team, all of that various stuff. But in terms of like the summer job opportunities that are kind of most appropriate for people still in school or coming out of school, it's these ones that we have listed on the screen here. So we have our artistic assistants. Those are a total of 2 positions that we have each year. We have our education and community engagement assistant, and then also a patron services assistant. So our artistic assistants are working with me directly. Primarily, they're serving as our guest artist liaisons. So they're organizing all of their air travel, lodging, ground transportation, their itineraries. They're doing all the advancing work with all of the managers and that sort of thing. And then all of that is obviously super important, but most importantly, they are really their primary contact for all of the guest artists when they're in town. They're the ones who are taking care of them. One question I usually get asked is, do I need a car? No, we have a professional car service that takes care of getting them to and from the airport, and then they stay at a hotel just a block away from our venue. So no car is required. In addition to all of these guest artist work, you're working with our personnel managers on special projects that come up throughout the year and assist me with artistic planning projects for the coming season, generally while we're executing the current season. We're also working on the upcoming season because we're taking advantage of the fact that our artistic leadership is in town. So there is a lot of exciting projects to work on while you're with us. Our education and community engagement assistant is our education manager's right-hand person with regards to all of our various education and community engagement programs. So our classical campers program brings in 80 different students each day to the festival, getting to take part in music education immersion activities. They get to come and watch rehearsal, have Q&As with our guest artists and our musicians. We have fellowships for both string and vocalist that see young career musicians get to play in our orchestra and chorus and do chamber music concerts throughout the city as part of the Night Out in the Parks initiative, where we take the string quartet and vocal quartet into parks across the city, giving free performances for residents right there in their neighborhood. We have our Visiting Masters program, which is a masterclass series featuring all of the wonderful guest artists we have in our season. A Young Artist Showcase that sees all of the wonderful youth performing arts organizations perform prior to our concerts. And then also a pre-concert lecture series that takes place prior to each of those concerts. So the people who do well in this have, a bit of an education background, obviously, but also a production background. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen in order to make all of these events happen. Oftentimes, there are 3 or 4 of these types of events happening at the same time, at the same day. So we're kind of spread pretty thin here, but it's a very foot on the ground type of position, which is really fun. And then last but not least, we have our patron service assistant. So this is assisting with all of the box office duties that come up over the course of the season. I would say that probably one of the big selling points of this job is you actually do get to become accustomed with the Tessitura database. Tessitura is probably the most used box office software in our industry, not only for the marketing front of house side of things, but also development/fundraising. So getting your feet wet there is always a great thing. And then, you're really working to foster robust relationships between our patrons, and the festival itself is kind of one of those public faces, dealing with everyone as they're coming into the park. So I will just put up my name and email address here for everyone. If you do have any questions about any of these jobs, please do feel free to reach out to me, and I am very happy to put you in touch with the appropriate person regarding any questions you might have. We generally will launch the applications for these positions in late February, early March. So you can just go to our website, find those job descriptions, and enter your applications. In terms of what we're looking for, very similar to what everyone else has said thus far. I find that the people who are most successful in these positions are people who do actually have a genuine interest in arts administration. Many people who have had these positions are now working full time, in orchestras across the country. It is very, very grueling work on certain days. We're dealing with an outdoor music festival where it can be in the 90s and very humid, and dealing with crazy music that's coming from Soldier Field across the street, or there's just anything and everything that can go wrong at an outdoor summer music festival. So we really need people who first of all, really want to be there, love arts administration, love being empowered to make decisions that are for the best of not only our patrons, but all of our musicians. Someone who's really empathetic, and someone who, really is willing to roll their sleeves up and kind of learn, foots on the ground type of job experience that we provide. So that's that in a nutshell. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And thank you, Sonia, for the opportunity.
Thanks, Chris. And from humid 90-degree windy city weather, we come back up to the Rockies, to Breckenridge, Colorado. Dan Howard, thanks so much for being here today from the National Repertory Orchestra. So could you tell us a little bit about NRO and what jobs are available, what it's like to be in the summer in Breckenridge, and anything else you'd like to share today?
Well, Breckenridge is gorgeous. Just like Aspen, just like, you go to visit Jackson Hole. If it gets to 80, it's a heat wave. It is absolutely beautiful. The sunny days far outnumber the rainy days. It is just a gorgeous place to be. It's a gorgeous place to live and work. National Repertory Orchestra has been in Breckenridge for 30 years now. Before that, we were in Keystone, Colorado, and before that, we were at Estes Park. And so we moved around a little bit, but we have a sort of permanent home right now in Breckenridge. It's an orchestra of 80 young professionals. Most of these musicians are young professionals who are just getting started in their career. They've finished college. They might have started their first jobs as a performer, and they're just really getting going. And we help them take that journey by bringing in wonderful guest conductors, wonderful clinicians to help them take that next step. Our staff is small. Year-round staff is 5, and year-round staff is 25. And most of those people are very young and hungry and go-getters and very energetic. And our openings that come up each summer, we have openings in development, marketing, operations, personnel, and there's even a chief executive officer internship, a chief CEO fellow who can sort of shadow our boss and find out what it's like to lead an organization. Currently, our openings are in stage and production. Our openings are in marketing and photography. And we even have an orchestra personnel fellow opening. Now, each of these positions do different things, but they all work really closely together. It really is a family. You spend 10 weeks getting to know each other. You spend 10 weeks working closely together, and we train you how to do the job. So a little bit of experience in the field that you're interested in will go a very long way. I like to say it's like a semester of free college, a semester of college you don't have to pay for, that is hyper focused on this one job. For example, we have an opening for our recording and production fellow. And what this person will do is they will help with the stage crew, they will help with the recording engineer. And they'll have an opportunity not just to lift and move heavy things, but they'll have the opportunity to actually lead the show from the production side of the things. They'll call the lighting cues, they'll call the sound cues, they might have an opportunity to actually run the recording setup and record the service. And so they don't just do what the job says they'll do. We teach them to take the next step. We have a great track record in this job specifically. We have a great track record of having somebody be a recording and production fellow. The next year, they might be an assistant production manager, which is a paid job. And then after that, they'll be in the professional world doing it in an orchestra somewhere. And well, there's an example in San Diego Symphony right now of somebody who did that with us. Our marketing people, they get an opportunity to help us tell the story of NRO, not just from the musician side, but from the staff and fellow side. They get to talk about what it's like to be in the mountains for these 8 weeks. Nat's going to talk about that a little later on. Nat was our marketing and photography fellow last summer, did a fantastic job. And we still use his pictures because they are so fantastic. We have a personnel fellow opening, and the personnel fellow is essentially an assistant personnel manager. So they're going to help our orchestra manager. You're going to help that person let the musicians know when, where, for how long, and what's going on from a day-to-day to a week-to-week to a month-to-month basis. It really is an opportunity to learn how to be a personnel manager for an orchestra. And then we have an artist liaison opening. And this is one of my favorites. It's one of the lowest stress jobs, if I can say that, because none of these jobs are low stress. When you're working 6 days a week and you have 40 performances to cram into 8 weeks of a music festival, it's not that there's anything that's truly low stress, but the artist liaison gets to be up close and personal with each of the guest conductors, with each of our guest soloists. It's a really wonderful opportunity to sort of learn what it's like to help take care of somebody and help them feel like they're welcome. I always love it when a guest artist comes to town and they feel like they don't want to be anyplace else. You know, when they come in and they feel so warm and embraced by the organization, they know they're going to have a good performance when they work with us. I think it's a wonderful place to be. I think it's a magical place to be. I think that our staff is singular in that they really know how to have a good time. They work hard, they play hard, and when the summer is over, there's a few tears shared. Nobody wants to really go home. This family is now breaking up to go to their separate ways, but it really is a magical summer. National Repertory Orchestra, it's a pretty special place to be. I don't have too much more to say other than that. If you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. My email address is my first name at nromusic.org, and my whole first name, Daniel, Daniel at nromusic.org. Reach out, send me a note. I'll connect you with who you want to talk to, and we'll have a wonderful summer together.
Thanks so much, Dan. Yeah, I played at NRO as an oboist one summer, and I came back the next summer, and I was an intern in personnel development and many other things. So it's a great place to spend the summer. Okay, and we're going to come back down to humid Tennessee, Sewanee, Tennessee. Hi, John. Thanks for being here today. Can you tell us all about the Sewanee Music Festival?
Absolutely. Sewanee's not quite as humid as the rest of the state. That's why the whole place was invented, actually. We're up on the top of the Cumberland Plateau, where generations of people have escaped the heat of the valley. So Sewanee is a 4-week summer music festival in residence at the University of the South, which is, as we were just talking about, on the Cumberland Plateau. We are a program of the university, so maybe a little different than some of the configurations of some of the other programs here. We are part of a larger university structure, which means we, in addition for our staff, in addition to it being a paid position, we also house and feed all of our staff on campus through the university's programs there. We have both pre-college and college programs through this summer festival. We have an opera program, we have a composition program, we have 2 orchestras. So those of us that work, those that work with us in the summer will have the opportunity to work both with some much younger students, right? This may be the first time that they've had I'll call it a real orchestra experience where there's a librarian and a personnel manager and those sorts of things. So it's a really valuable thing, not just for our staff, but for those students to have that first professional experience. And that's really, more broadly, that's really what Sewanee is for everybody, even for our older students, even for our college students. It's often the first time that they're working with a fully professional staff in every aspect of what they do, from personnel to library. Our librarian is been an orchestra librarian for many, many years, and she will certainly tell them how things are supposed to go, whether they like it or not. So both from a staffing perspective and from a student perspective, we are a great bridge program, right? If you have maybe worked at a camp before, at a program for younger kids before, I'm thinking, the great programs like Blue Lake and Idlewild, where it's more of a camp environment. We are that bridge to some of these programs that you've already heard from. So it's a great experience both for our students and for our staff from that perspective. As everyone else has said, we are a pretty lean staff during the season. There are only 4 of us during the year that really put everything together. And of course, the faculty are very involved in programming, and the conductors that we have. We don't actually have an artistic director per se. That's a role that I fill with the faculty. So all the programming for chamber music and the conductors and all of that is done with me and the conductors that we bring in. So that's another thing about our seasonal staff, is that if you're managing an orchestra, you're going to have a different guest conductor every week. So you're going to help build your network there, but also, learn the different kinds of, quirks of working with different conductors. You're going to have to maybe deal with different orchestra setups, different ways of rehearsing and interacting as staff. So I think that's a really valuable experience as well, that you see a lot of people as a seasonal employee, both in terms of the faculty you work with, but also, just the interactions you'll have. And we reopen all of our positions every year. We do invite some people back depending on how it went in their first summer. And we don't like to necessarily have the same people for more than 2 summers, because we want new people coming in. We want new perspectives and ideas, and we want to give other people opportunities as well. So we do have some positions that are filled from this past summer that are coming back, but most of ours are open, and we have everything from orchestra managers to residence life folks that help take care of both our pre-college and college students, to library assistants and everything in between. So all of our positions are on our website. I'm pretty easy to find on the music festival website as well. We also have I'm a little under the weather. We have a generic admissions email that you could reach out to, that we'll make sure to get anything answered as far as what we have available. And all the positions, as I think everyone else has said here too, are all paid hourly positions. And yeah, we'd love to have folks working with us. We often have people that, much like Sonia described her experience going to NRO and then going back and working for NRO, we're seeing that quite a bit as well. Folks that have done the music festival for maybe 2 or 3 summers, maybe they did it when they were younger, and then they came back to work for us, and that's been a really great thing to see, that continuum of family. And I know, having spent, I think, a summer at every place that's represented here except Grand Tetons, I haven't been there yet. I know that that's the case for all of the programs here, and most good summer programs have that kind of continuum. So just a last thing I'll just say to anyone that watches this, regardless of where you go this summer, please go somewhere. It's incredibly important for your career and professional development. Obviously I'm biased, and everyone here is biased towards their program. That's why we're here. But you really should do it. I hear students all the time say, "Oh, I don't have time. I don't think I should do this, or this doesn't pay enough, or that doesn't pay enough." It shouldn't matter what it pays, to be perfectly blunt, and it shouldn't matter what you think the job is or isn't. If you want to build a professional network, you're going to have an enormous leg up over other folks if you have been to these summer programs. And I know there's someone's going to talk about that now, so I won't steal their thunder. But I really do just want to underscore how, for whatever professional connections I made in college and in grad school, I made the same number of them going to Aspen and NRO and NOI and wherever else I went. So go somewhere in the summer, and they're all beautiful places too. They're probably more beautiful than where you live during the year. So
they are all beautiful places. I want to come visit all these places. So before we turn it over to our special guest, Nat, Jada Copeland is one of our Student Advisory Council members here at Orchestra Careers. Jada, can you talk a little bit about where you are in your career journey, and maybe if you have any questions for the festivals?
Yeah, for sure. So can everyone hear me okay? I'm in my car still because I didn't want to transition. But so I'm a second semester senior. I graduate in May and do my degree required internship this summer. I am getting a music industry studies degree with a concentration in marketing and promotion. So very music industry based, but I kind of want to do the arts administration, nonprofit side of that. Through my coursework and professors, I got connected with Sonia, and she's been really awesome in connecting me with people and different stuff. So it's been really cool. So yeah, that's me. I think like the biggest questions that are coming to mind are one, housing slash transportation slash pay for each of them, how that would work for people that were considering to work at the festivals, and two, like kind of wanting to know more about your background personally, like how did you get to where you are in these leadership positions and these festivals. So yeah.
Okay, we're going to do a lightning round. First, I'll go back to you, John. Can you just talk a little bit about housing? You mentioned pay, and then also, a couple fun facts about you.
So the music festival covers housing. It's dormitory style housing for our staff. We do try to keep it at least separate somewhat from the participants, certainly separate by age and all that. But it's dormitory housing and a meal plan, which is 3 meals a day. It starts when you arrive. We usually get our staff here, like everybody else, about a week before the program starts, and that's when the food starts and the housing starts as well. And it's an hourly rate that really varies depending on degree plans. Our lowest hourly rate is $12.50 an hour. I don't think we've actually paid that in a long time. That's just sort of the lowest rate. We usually land somewhere between 15 and 17 an hour. The university does set our pay rates because it's considered a seasonal employment, so I don't have as much control over that as maybe some others do, but that's generally where that falls. And I don't have any fun facts. I was asked to run Sewanee because my predecessor quit kind of at the last minute, and so I stepped in as an interim. And 7 years later, I'm still the director, and that has led me to other things professionally in terms of running an orchestra, and I'm moving to another job at the moment to run another program. But I still perform pretty regularly. I played a recital this fall, so I think it's really healthy that if you want to keep performing, you shouldn't think you have to close the door to that if you go into administration. I mean, if you want to close the door, you should, but if I have one mission in life, it's like you can absolutely be an effective director of a program and still play your instrument at a high level if you want to. So
Great.
that's
Dan, I'll toss it to you. What can you tell
Awesome.
us?
Housing, yes, we provide housing. Breckenridge is a ridiculously expensive place to live. So to make it easier for people to come and work with us, housing is covered. It's an apartment complex that's called employee housing, and everybody gets assigned to a condominium. Most folks have flatmates. Some folks also have roommates in their flat. Transportation, some people choose to bring their cars. Some people prefer that kind of independence, but there is a free bus system that runs countywide up here, and so you don't need a vehicle to go where you want to go. Also, from where the employee housing is to where the performance venue is, it's less than 2 miles. A lot of people prefer to ride their bikes. A lot of people want to walk or take that hike, and it seems to work out pretty well that way. In terms of compensation, it depends on which job you do. Some jobs do pay, and there's a weekly rate that's based upon experience, but all of our fellowships, they do not provide income, which is a challenge. And a lot of other summer festivals have the same thing where how do you attract people to come in? And our attractive point there is that what you learn, what you take with you, translates to income later on. And I know that's a really terrible thing to say, and a lot of people, especially just starting out, don't like to hear that because you still got to pay for Netflix and you still got to pay for car insurance. And if we're not giving you that money, where's that money going to come from, right? And so it's really an investment in your own future, which is a hard selling point, but it's second to none when I biased again here. I'm talking about NRO is second to none, but just getting this experience someplace, just like John was saying, get that experience someplace, and it does translate to better wages in the future. Thank you for taking that little nickel tour with me. For me personally, I started my career as a professional trombone player, as a bass trombone player, and then gradually worked into admin because I felt like, not to be too arrogant about it, but I thought I could be a better personnel manager than the personnel managers I was working with. And so gradually I started personnel managing, discovered a true love for arts admin, got really hungry to learn and do better. And so I've just worked my way up from there. And now I'm director of operations and education for National Repertory Orchestra. We're having fun.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much, Dan. Chris, how about you? Can you tell us a little bit more about Grant Park and yourself?
Yeah, so we pay, I can't remember what the exact rate is for this upcoming year. It's a little bit more than $16, 16 and some odd cents. Unfortunately, we do not have housing that we provide, but we are advocates for all of our staff coming from out of town in terms of helping them find reasonably priced housing. You certainly can in Chicago, which just not in the immediate downtown area. We do provide free parking in downtown Chicago, which is great. And then we also have a really amazing public transportation system here in Chicago too. So certainly do not need a car if you don't have one. And in terms of my journey, I also started as a professional violinist out in Colorado before switching to the dark side. I just determined after being on the audition circuit for a while that, I actually did want to pursue arts administration exclusively. So I did SMU's arts administration program, where I got both an Master of Arts in Arts Administration and then also an MBA. And then went to work for Eugene Symphony out in Oregon, left the industry for 5 years working for a children's chorus as an executive director to get fundraising skills underneath my belt before coming back into the orchestra industry to work for Grant Park. So that's been my journey.
Great, thanks, Chris. Tim, how about you? How about Grand Tetons and a little something about you?
Sure. Grand Teton Music Festival seasonal employees make $500 a week. So that's consistent with like the $12.50 an hour. It is at 40 hour a week. All the jobs are 40 hours a week. We do have housing. So we'd be putting you up in a condo. You have to bunk up with somebody, but you would be in a condo with another seasonal staffer. You do really need a car. A lot of our seasonal staff are housed in the town of Jackson and our performance venues in Teton Village at the base of Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. It's about 20 minutes under great conditions, and in the traffic that exists now in Jackson, it could be a little bit longer. But I would say a lot of our seasonals tend to just commute together to and if they're living in town, to and from town. But yeah, you really do need to have a vehicle out here when you're out here. How did I get into this? I was a clarinetist, and I was playing in the Central City Opera Orchestra in the summers, and then just freelancing and auditioning over and over and over again. Just something didn't feel right. And so I called Howard Herring, who's the CEO of the New World Symphony. I'd been there for 3 years earlier, and I just called him up, and he said, well, I thought we might have this conversation one day, and here's some people you should go talk to. And eventually I got my foot in the door with the Kansas City Symphony, and I fell into fundraising based on temperament and the organization's need. But I mean, the story, like how I would characterize it is, I always, the dream as a young person was always to play clarinet in a symphony orchestra. And in letting go of that, I found my true vocation, which is to fundraise and build relationships with the donors who make all of the music possible. So it's an incredible gift, and to be able to do that in the Mountain West, in a place where I could ski 15,000 feet and then take a call like this, is pretty amazing.
That's great. Thanks so much. Beth and Kyle, okay, we're going to wrap it up here about, tell us a little bit, remind us what housing or wages or the situation is at Aspen, and then a fun fact about each of you.
So the housing is provided, like Breckenridge. It is prohibitively expensive to try to live in the town of Aspen. So we take care of that for all of our employees and work out summer housing for them. Various locations, some in town, some in a housing complex that's just outside of town. And in terms of transportation, it's actually very great here. There is a bus system that is free within a certain radius around the town of Aspen. And I live here in DC, and I'll say the bus system there is better than the metro is here. It's really, really good. So most positions, you really don't need a car to be here. There's some positions that bounce around so much and are carrying gear and things that having a car is advantageous, but for the average position, you really don't need one. The salary ranges based on the position. We try to be really transparent about what those are, so they're all in the job descriptions on the website. Some are in the 14.5 an hour kind of range, some are up in the 17 or 18, and then some people more experienced in management type positions are on a weekly salary. So there's quite a range. Fun fact about myself and how I got into this. So I was a multi-woodwind kind of guy, saxophone, clarinet, flute, and played kind of all genres at various levels. I like to say I was mediocre at everything. And but I worked in kind of production, backstage kinds of stuff all through my collegiate career. And that was one of the ways that I paid for my degrees. My first experience working in orchestra was actually with NOI, another summer festival here at the University of Maryland. So that's kind of interesting, and that was my first time working at a festival as well. So that's kind of how I got into it and just kept going in the production route, and have worked lots of different places. I freelance at the Kennedy Center here in DC, and I've been enjoying it. So found my way, I think, eventually.
Yeah, and my story is I studied vocal performance at Eastman School of Music, and I worked in the concert office while I was there my entire time. So I was an usher, and then I kind of worked my way up to project assistant, and I helped around the office. And my background is kind of in front of house management as well from my college days. And I kind of took a step back after I graduated from performance, and I was like, I'm kind of interested in going back to arts admin. That seems interesting. And so I ended up calling my old boss from Eastman, and he had heard about this opening at Aspen Music Festival. And so I just kind of went for it. I applied, and he gave me some advice, and I ended up becoming operations manager here a couple of years ago, and now I'm director of operations. So it's been quite a journey for sure.
Thank you. All right, so Nat, I would love for you just to share, if someone's not convinced yet because of this video that they should come and work at a festival, can you just share a little bit about your experience and what impact it had on your career?
Yeah, well, it had a huge impact on my career. Actually, the first interview I took, the first thing that my now boss said when they looked at my experience with the NRO said, "Wow, that's really impressive." And then I was kind of like, "Okay, yeah, I got this. I'm gonna get the job." So a little bit about me: I graduated from a 4-year program for arts administration through an interdisciplinary degree, but I'm also a bassoon player. So I've played in orchestras, and through my degree track, I realized that I had a great yearning to be able to facilitate education and also performance value for other people, and to try to make the orchestra and music experience as less stuffy as possible, as least stuffy as possible. And so the NRO, when I submitted my application, first of all, I found it on musical chairs. So if you're looking to put jobs out there, definitely use musical chairs, because everyone that I talked to at NRO said that they found their position on musical chairs. I would say that it has shaped a great deal of who I am now as a person. I will say that NRO is incredibly unique because well, first of all, again, it's mostly paid for. And I was the marketing and photography fellow. So my job I had never really heard of inside of the orchestra scene, and it kind of really aligned with what I do. I'm a freelance photographer as well as I do freelance playing all over, and my job actually right now is operations. But the photography aspect of it was very interesting to me, and so I kind of started there. And then when I got there, I started to realize that there were so many opportunities to do anything that I wanted, especially inside of the marketing range, is also the production kind of thing. I worked really closely to make sure that the stage looked nice for these kinds of photos, and so going to the sound engineer to see where mics needed to be. And so one of the positions that the NRO is hiring is that photography position, and I think that if someone is looking to do that, they should get into it as soon as possible, because I think once someone realizes how cool of a program it is, if I wasn't working now, I think I would go back and do it. But I think I've lost the question, but
You're
going
doing great.
back to in my career now, I am the artistic operations assistant with ProMusica Chamber Orchestra in Columbus. So I know John said that his principal oboe in Sewanee is Jessica Smithhorn, who's one of our oboe players. And
Chattanooga. She's principal in Chattanooga.
Oh, Chattanooga. Sorry.
Just want to
yeah.
yeah.
And I was looking at the Grant Park Music Festival, and inside that I saw Vadim Glusman, who is our artist in residency, and he has been for the past like 10 years. And I don't think I would have had the ability to not only communicate with people like this and have a great deal of experience without the NRO, but I also got to have those exact same experiences with some of our guest artists. I worked really closely actually with a lot of the guest artists and conductors to be able to get them photos, not only for their website or their Instagrams or whatever, but also to work with them, inside of their contract to see what photos we could and could not take, where the media went. I think the biggest was probably Midori. Midori I worked with, which is really, really cool. I think, it's kind of a weird dream to work with someone like that, but I was really, really happy. And actually one of my photos ended up on her website recently, and then it's no longer there, which is whatever. But yeah, I don't know if I explained that very well, but I would say that the NRO in general is incredibly community-based. There are free dinners that the community provides. It's either Tuesdays or Thursdays. And it's a bunch of volunteers, not only from the NRO, but also from the community that really want to get to know you. And then also there's kind of a saying that I kind of picked up from the marketing director there, was that, well, it's National Repertory Orchestra, it's actually an international repertory orchestra. We have an incredible amount of musicians come from, all over walks of life while they still have their work visa in America. And, one of our production managers this past summer, his name was Ben. He was British, and it's kind of cool to see where he ended up. He actually got a job with the London Philharmonic Orchestra, I think. Yeah. And yeah, so yeah, sorry.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Nat. Really appreciate you sharing that story. And to all of our panelists today, thank you for your time and all the information. If you're watching this video and you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And one of my favorite things that I like to get to do is to help with those very important cover letters or resumes. So if you are reaching out, if you are planning to do an application, you have questions about how to do those, email me at info@orchestracareers.com. We want to make sure that you succeed on your journey, and a festival is a great place to make your next step. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us today, and we'll see you at a next event.